Good afternoon, members. It is time to start the meeting. We have also formed a quorum. We have arranged 2 sessions to deal with the item on the agenda. After the first session, we'll have a break of 10 minutes. The second one will start at 5:40 p.m. Just want to remind members that in relation to the matter before us in the agenda, if you have got direct or indirect pecuniary interest, please, in accordance with the requirement under Rule 83A of the Rules of Procedures, declare the nature of the relevant interest before you speak. Please also note the provisions concerning voting in relation to matters that you have direct pecuniary interest under Rule 84 of the Rules of Procedures. FCR 2015-16-7. Members are invited to approve a new commitment of $1,448,786,000 for the next generation smart identity card system. To answer members' questions, we have the following public officers: Mr. John Lee, Undersecretary for Security; Mr. Billy Wu, PS for Security; Mr. Derek Chiu, Assistant Director of Immigration; Mr. Lok Wai Men, Assistant Director of Immigration; and Ms. Caroline Fan, Chief Systems Manager from Immigration Department. On the 8th of May, when we had our last meeting, we already started our discussion session. 2 members, namely Mr. Charles Mock and Mr. Raymond Chen, indicated their wish to speak. For those members who would like to speak, please press the button. Mr. Charles Peter Mock. 5 minutes each for the first round. 5 minutes, Mr. Chairman. All right, thank you. First of all, I'm grateful to the Immigration Department. Prior to the meeting, I had a long list of questions, and the Immigration Department gave us the answers. And on a number of occasions, I talked to their experts, that is RFID experts as well as security experts. We had a number of meetings, and some public, others in private. Well, most of the experts have told us that for this system, if you are really concerned about eavesdropping, I think the concern is not established. But of course, in the community, we have a lot of concern, saying that in Shenzhen you could get something. Of course, that's for the cards issued on the mainland, and the cards there haven't been encrypted, so quite unlike what we have got. But I'm sure members have got many questions, and I hope the government can give answers so as to enhance our confidence. Other than the long-range communication in relation to the cards, I think we're also concerned about the other matter. That is, it is said that if a few cards are held together, there may be a problem. And of course, during one of our exchange sessions, this point was raised by one of the experts. I think it will be difficult to avoid, because your credit cards, you have got RF, your ID card has got a chip, and then your Octopus card, and then for the door key for your home, and then for the staff card that we used to come back here, probably you have got a stack of 5 or 6 cards together. Of course, we have been told that there is a technical solution. Please explain to us what that is, and also what are you going to do to educate the public so as not to keep the cards together. We may be saving time for the immigration clearance, but then for the Octopus cards, maybe we have to take it out, and so there is instead a long queue in front of the turnstile. Mr. Locke. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For this question, on my part, I have also got a few 1443 cards. I can show it to you. By separating them, then you're not going to affect the so-called Octopus card usage. So for the smart card, for the smart ID card, in our publicity work, we will inform the public that by keeping it a little bit separate from others, we can minimize the interference. Minimized or eliminated? You can't eliminate it. You can at most minimize it. Mr. Charles Mock, yes, I appreciate this. Make sure you clarify this point in your publicity campaign. In the community, it's been said that perhaps you can distribute or hand out a cover or you get one yourself. Would it help? Now, if we have a cover and if it can reduce the interference, certainly we will do that. I think upon completion of the design, it will be tested and we will make a decision after that. I still have time. Let me ask another question, Mr. Chairman, and that's about the encryption. I think a lot of literature have told us that for the German identity card, they have got PACE instead of PAC. This is because the encryption, relatively speaking, can be more easily sort of hacked, and then maybe in a few years' time it will become obsolete. So for our new generation smart ID cards, would you consider something better than BAC like PACE? Mr. Locke. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, in our paper, we've also referred to the different technologies to encrypt the data. Of course, when we develop and design the system, we'll be using the top-notch security measures. So you won't just be using BAC. That's just an example, right? Yes. Later on, when you talk about the e-passport, perhaps you need to enhance it, even though we are not, of course, talking about the e-passport. For e-passport, it is BAC, right? Mr. Locke. For our electronic documents, we'll certainly be using the most secure encryption technology. Raymond Chen, 5 minutes, first round. Before I ask a technical issue, can I ask a question about procurement and manufacturing? At a security panel meeting, we asked a question about passports. For the passports, well, the joint declaration says that only the company under the Chinese Liaison Office can produce it. A blank passport is produced, and then in Hong Kong, we will add the personal data to the passport. This was explained at a security panel meeting. Of course, while identity card isn't covered by the joint declaration, it's something internally for Hong Kong. Now, for the $1.4 billion, the largest chunk of money will be spent on the acquisition of the cards. The hardware will only cost $300 million. For the blank cards, I think they're already available in the market. Different companies have already been producing them. Is that the case, or it will be tailor-made for us after tendering? And then for the hardware and the blank smart cards, would it come from the same manufacturers, from the same company? Do we buy the hardware from one company and then forever we have to get the blank smart cards from the same hardware company? And what about the manufacturing process? Do they produce the blank cards for us, deliver the blank cards to us, and then the immigration department buy the hardware, and then the immigration department will be inputting the personal data onto the cards? And what about our current ID cards? Do we have just one or two manufacturers, or just one single one? Or do we get the hardware and the cards from one single supplier? Two principles involved, and then Mr. Locke will answer the other questions. First of all, open tendering. Anybody who can meet the specifications can apply, and then there will be a scoring system. And then for the tendering process, we try to break it up. In other words, we don't want to cater for the larger companies only. I hope that companies of different scales can take part. So they want to know whether there are any restrictions. Are you saying that not one particular country's manufacturers will have the eligibility, right? Mr. Locke. Take our current smart ID card. Again, it was the result of open tendering. Now, for the new one, many countries already possess the technology, and the technology is mature. Now, we are going to get the blank cards after open tender. and then the immigration department within the security zone will be having a room to print the ID cards. So the chip and the personal data will be implanted onto the card. So the processing will be carried out by our own staff. For the blank card, the blank cards as well as the hardware, will they come from the same supplier? What about our current smart ID cards? What is the position and which country's manufacturers involved? Mr. Chairman, for the hardware, it is from a local company, but then the hardware in fact comes from or originates from Europe. For the blank smart cards, again produced in Europe. Are they separate, or can we get them from Europe so that we get the blank cards and then we get the local supplier to provide the hardware? That's the case. Mr. Chen. So that's all from me for the time being. Next, Dennis Kwok. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. 2 questions. First of all, for the storage of data for the smart ID cards, where is it? And I'm concerned about the security. We've been told that now we are going to replace the technology, and we have been told that the database will be shifted to another country. I don't know whether the rumor is correct or not. So where is the storage of the data, and is it secure? And it has been said that every time we replace our ID cards for expatriates who have been living in Hong Kong for a long time, the children, as a result of studying abroad, the immigration department would make life difficult for them when they replace the ID cards, asking for them for proof to show that they have been living in Hong Kong. But in fact, their parents have settled in Hong Kong, they work in Hong Kong. So many people are worried. Every time there is a replacement of the smart ID cards, you are preventing the second generation of many expatriates to remain residents of Hong Kong, to remain as citizens of Hong Kong. Mr. Lee, Mr. Chiu and Mr. Lok will answer the questions respectively. Mr. Chairman, for the ROP data is stored in our computer center. It is within a highly secure zone, so there's no question of in Hong Kong, within the headquarters of the Immigration Department. I think we visited that center many years ago. Mr. Chiu, thank you, Mr. Chairman. For children of expatriates, if they are born in Hong Kong, according to the Immigration Department and the Basic Law, they have a way to get the right of abode in Hong Kong. But if they have left Hong Kong for a long time, then in accordance with the law, we have to vet their eligibility to have the right of abode in Hong Kong. After verification, if it is found that they are not eligible, and if the child is a person, if the person is a child under 18 or 21, they can still get a visa to stay in Hong Kong. For an expatriate who has left Hong Kong for more than 36 months, and so they have lost the right of permanent abode in Hong Kong, they can still have the right to enter Hong Kong. If the applicant is aggrieved by the Immigration Department's decision, there is an appeal mechanism. So, Mr. Kwok, for the case that you referred to, well, the case will have different facts, and it will be difficult for me to analyze here. If you do have a case in mind, please refer it to us so that we can explain the matter clearly to the relevant person. Mr. Kwok, let me ask this question again. For the ID card replacement exercise, I want to know whether you're taking this opportunity to make life difficult for people that I referred to. Are you going to take this opportunity to take away the ID card, so to speak? I hope you will give a verbal commitment. This is not your objective and you won't do it deliberately. Please give an undertaking. Thank you for telling us that I can refer cases to you. Mr. Chiu, there is a provision in our law. The officers involved in registration of persons have the duty to verify the status before we issue a permanent ID card. For the replacement exercise, we don't take this opportunity to make fewer people eligible. But under the law, as to whether a person is a permanent resident, well, in fact, our officers have got the responsibility to clarify this. As I have said, for somebody who has got the permanent residency status, if as a result of the immigration ordinance or the ROPR, if they lose the right of abode, they will automatically be entitled to the right to enter. They can come back to live, they can come back to study, so they won't be greatly inconvenienced. After they have lived in Hong Kong for 7 years, that is residing in Hong Kong on a long-term basis, they can reapply for the status of permanent residency. In other words, the impact on this person will be minimal. Mr. Gary Fan. 3 questions. First of all, 2 questions about the the lifespan as well as the cost effectiveness or the benefits. Well, we have been told that the security features will be such that it will still be a low forgery rate for 10 years. Does it mean that it has got a lifespan of 10 years? If not, what is the planned or assessed lifespan? What about the RFID technology? Do you think that it won't easily be overtaken by other technology, or would it be easily hacked? I think last time you didn't actually tell us that the serviceable lifespan is 10 years only. So in your paper, if you don't tell us, then what is the justification? You didn't say so last time. Now here, does it mean that in 10 years' time we have to spend a lot of money to undergo another replacement exercise? Mr. Lee, Mr. Chairman, the system will be used for 10 years based on 2 questions, two points. Well, first of all, the technology advances very rapidly. So generally speaking, in the market, companies that are willing to take up the responsibility will have a horizon of 10 years. Of course, we have already explained that at the time of inviting tender, if a company can promise more than 10 years lifespan, we will add our marks to the scores. On our part, we don't confine the lifespan validity, but then the reality is that the system, as well as some of the materials, will only get a guarantee from the supply for 10 years. For the other question, Mr. Locke can answer. Mr. Locke, for the technology. As Mr. Lee, Undersecretary, has said, many companies in the market at the technology level can only commit 10 years. If there is a longer warranty period, then certainly this will be sort of given due regard. Another question. In fact, between 1997 and now, in the past 18 years all along, the Immigration Department has asked a company under the Chinese Liaison Office to produce the ID cards, and it's a contract of $30 million in total. So it's something like the Hong Kong SARG paying the Chinese Liaison Office. And in fact, this this company is also producing RFID labels. In other words, the technology to be used in the next generation smart ID card system. So how can you be sure that you have mentioned in paragraph 13, that is, you are not going to collect the personal data, so that just like the Hong Kong SARG passports, we have in fact got an indirectly owned a company indirectly owned by Chinese Liaison Office producing the ID cards.
Under Secretary, well, these two are different matters because the SAR visa is not the same as the smart ID card, and there was an agreement with the British government in the Sino-British Joint Declaration. As for the smart ID card, this will be put up for open tender, regardless of the country of origin. Any company could bid for the contract, and as the established practice, the relevant department, namely the Central Tender Board, would assess the tender and it will be processed according to the established practices. Mr. Gary Fan? No follow-up? Next, Mr. Albert Ho. Thank you, Chairman. Now, the paper talks about the benefits of this new system and that there is a need to revamp the system. But in the beginning, you also mentioned that the old system could not be kept. I don't understand. If you say that the technology is lagging behind and that there is no maintenance service, etc., then I'm really puzzled. Is it that we have no choice at all? Is it that we must continue to have regular updates? Can you say that we can maintain the level of technology at so-and-so? But of course, I know that there are concerns in this regard. But let's say we keep the system, we continue to maintain it regularly. I don't know why this is not a choice. Can't we maintain it at the existing level? Under Secretary. Now, we don't propose to take this approach because cost-effectiveness-wise, it is bad. So let's say if the system can, even if we can tweak the system and upgrade it, there is still a limit to its lifespan. And there are also hardware components that are discontinued, the manufacturing of which is discontinued, so we'll be short of components if it goes out of order. And this is a practical issue. And another point is that we did not design this new system for just several years down the road. We're talking about a cycle of 10 years. Or even 15, because the next replacement exercise would probably be 15 years later. So for the existing system, there are hardware components that can no longer be replaced. And practically speaking, I don't think we should consider this choice given the lifespan of the system. So you're saying that it is not impossible, only that it is not cost-effective. So in other words, we don't have any choice. Let's say if today, for any reason, this proposal is vetoed, and does that mean that we have no ID cards to use anymore? Because you say that these existing ID cards would be torn and tattered, and that we can no longer use them. So it's either the new system or we go back to the old system. Now, my point about hardware components is valid. And secondly, even the supplier cannot guarantee that that maintenance service could be provided. And there is always a lifespan when it comes to computer systems. I recall at a panel meeting, we used the analogy of shoes being worn. And I think this is a good analogy. We must accept that there is a lifespan to each and every system. Well, Chairman, so even if we have this new system, it will only have a service life of 10 years. So I think it would cost much less if you extend the service life of the old system by, say, 5 years. Chairman, I think this will be a waste of resources. If we spend much money on updating the existing system, it can last for 2 or 3 years more only. So we should instead invest in a new system which can last for 10 years. And this replacement exercise will be the next replacement exercise will be carried out 15 years. Mr. Sin Chung Kai, Chairman, I'd like to ask about paragraph 10. This is the contactless chip. So I actually read through the paper twice. It says that there is a mutual recognition mechanism. So I'd like to know about this contactless chip. What is the range for data to be read? Is it 5 cm, 10 cm, 1 meter, or what? That's the first question. Mr. Locke? Well, I understand his point about contactless chip interface, but we're talking about 2 keys. That is, if you want to access a deposit box, you need to open the door of first, and that's of the vault first, and that's the first key. And the next question is important. I need to answer your question on distance. The person must use the ID card personally, put it on the reader, and basically, if it falls outside the range of 2 cm, it won't be read. So we're talking about the first key, the first gate of security. Of course, there is already authentication and encryption, which will make the system more secure. So does it mean that if the card is more than 2 cm away from the reader, data won't be read? Is that right? Let's say, yes, I understand that there will be encryption. And some people might be worried that someone would use his own reader to read your data. So can you tell me whether somebody some distance away from you walking would be able to read your card? Impossible. The person must place the card on top of the reader at a close distance. And our requirement is that it should be in a range of 2 cm. And I can defer to my colleague to take your question. Yes, I want to ask this question as well. Let's say if somebody holds a portable reader, will he be able to read the card in my wallet as he walks by? No, we're talking about some optical mechanism. And secondly, there should be a certificate on the reader, and there is also a key that only the Immigration Department has. Mr. Locke, if the card holder is to activate the contactless interface, he first of all needs to take out this ID card and place it on top of the reader within a range of 2 cm. Falling out of this range, the data won't be able to read. The key text string won't be produced. And when the data is read, we will use our algorithm, and there will also be a certificate for producing the first key text string, which will open the first communication channel. and the communication channel would only be valid within a distance of 10 cm. Well, another question. The IT sector says that now we have more and more cards in our wallets and there may be interference. So there may be interference between this ID card and other cards. Let's say if you use other cards like the octopus card on the reader, there could be a problem. And I recall that in 2003, when the new ID card was issued, it came with a card case. So would you consider giving out a protective case or cover when the new ID card is issued this time? Well, just now Mr. Charles Mok already asked this question. But you were once the representative of the sector. Anyway, I will ask Mr. Locke to answer your question again. But we understand that as far as RFID is concerned, interference is possible. But like I said, I had a number of 1443 cards in my wallet. And still, now I don't have to exclusively take out the octopus card for purchase or for taking the MTR. Of course, we'll consider such a protective case if there is one that the market claims to have this function of preventing interference. But we need to consider very carefully before deciding on this. Dr. Kwok-Kah-Kee. Now, I have a number of questions. First, on card replacement exercise. Now, you already said that it will have a lifespan of 15 years. So, we are going to spend $3.7 billion on the project. Does it mean that in a few years' time we're going to spend more money? Is there a better way? Now, the other question is about encryption or security. Just now I heard that the reading range is 10 cm. And that the remote reading function must be initiated by the card reader first. But if there is a technology that can hack into this system, let's say if somebody interferes with an octopus card reader in order to read data of your card, and in fact when we use the whole wallet and place it on top of the reader, then as long as is within the 10 cm range, the data can be read. As for card initiation, then technically it can be done. So if you place the octopus card along with the ID card on any card reader, that would mean giving out data to any such reader that have been interfered with. Mr. Locke, well, for the first security measure, we need to get some data from the card reader. So the card reader should put the side with data, the side of the card with data on top of the reader first for data to be read, and there will be a special algorithm in the card reader together with a certificate to form a key text string. So if the card holder doesn't take out the card, the key text string can't be produced. But I have this question. You have a lot of different ways to hack into a system. Can the hacker access the survey's information without using the method you mentioned? such that as long as it's within the 10 cm range, you can read the data. Well, it's 3-in-1 technology, and that all three procedures must be taken. Because I see in other places in Europe and other countries there are similar technologies, and so far it has not been hacked. Thank you. As mentioned just now, after accessing the data on the card face, with the authentication, the key text string will be produced, and there is still another key required before you can really read the chip data. So if the card holder doesn't take out the card, the communication channel will not be initiated. And as we understand in European countries adopting the technology like Germany, we have not received any information about cases of hacking. Is there any ways to prolong the life cycle to spend less public money? Under Secretary, well, just now the other member also asked the question. We must accept the fact that any system would be confined to a certain lifespan due to technical constraints, and we can only guarantee a lifespan of 10 years according to the manufacturer. Then will you stipulate in the tender document what the lifespan should be? We're going to propose 10 years, but if a tenderer proposes something more than 10 years, we will appropriately award a higher score. I'd like to know other overseas experience as well. At least in this card replacement exercise, we started the exercise 10 years ago, but the system was already in place for 15 years. And with this time is 15 years. Last time we had the previous replacement took place 4 years ago. That is because there is a lifespan as far as materials are concerned, the system are concerned, and all other countries face the same problem. Any anti-fraud measures will have to be updated, including the card data. It has to be updated from time to time. Mr. Albert Chan, I think it is difficult to say for sure for how many years the card will not be replaced, because at any time there may be a technology developed that can read your card and steal your data. So it is really hard to make this projection.
I'm looking at Appendix 3, Mr. Chairman, concerning the saving of expenditure and the projections. I've been reading it again and again. It seems to be plucked from thin air. I'm looking at the total expenditure for the replacement of Smart ID card. It is 1.4 billion plus. But if you take into account the staff, etc., it is 3.7 billion plus. And the savings, it says here, is some 3.9 billion over the years. That would be the savings. But then if you look at the items themselves, I do not see how those figures can be supported. That is, this savings number is scientifically or realistically supported. I cannot see that. There are some expenses which can be avoided, and there are others which are cash items, and there are some theoretical savings or notional savings. Some are realizable savings and other cost avoidance. I do not know whether the Treasury can give us the scientific basis, or should we just trust you? You say that there can be a savings of 3.9 billion. Should I just take your word for it? Mr. Locke, please. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Actually, in enclosure 3, for the saving, for recurrent saving, that is to say, if we do not put in the second generation system, we will have to have another system anyway, because as we have mentioned just now, the existing system is already very difficult to maintain. And if we do not have a new system, we basically will not be able to register our ID cards. And therefore, in the saving, we are saying that if we have an alternate system to replace the existing system, which will utilize the existing procedures of operation. Well, I understand all that, Mr. Chair. What I'm asking is that for all these savings, do you have some independent justification that these figures are scientifically based and real? Well, Mr. Chairman, in our calculation, our consultant had given us independent opinion, and also there's been a survey, an investigation done in the market for the same procedures and technology. What exactly would the expenses be? We have that information. Mr. Chairman, I do not have the capabilities to revoke or to challenge these calculations, but perhaps the academics and experts can do so. Because if we look at the numbers, if it is indeed a savings over the next 10 years, then there's no reason why we should object to this proposal. Now, I'm thinking about the tendering process now. The Civil Aviation Department had a debacle, and I would like to know how we can avoid that kind of a situation. The tendering process can be riddled with problems. For example, at the tendering procedure, perhaps at the first award of a tender, perhaps it would be awarded to a certain company, but there may be follow-on tenders which are related to the first one. And at the end of the day, some party stands to gain greatly. Now, I do not know for overseas authorities and departments whether they also have experience of high-tech issues, for example, high-tech relating to defense, national defense or security, that the technology cannot be exported to Hong Kong for use. Well, Mr. Chair, there will be a classification for the tenders, and the tenders will be called, and the industry and interested suppliers would be invited. And basically, the future system or the cards and what we require will all be specified in the tendering document. And also, as I have pointed out just now, the smart card technology is actually pretty common now in Europe and in other countries. A smart card itself is not something that will be denied Hong Kong. That should not happen. It's quite common. Michael Tien. Mr. Chairman, I would like to follow up. In the long run, well, technology can only advance. In the long run, for citizens of Hong Kong using smart ID card, what exactly is the time horizon? Now, there are two different angles to approach this issue. One is at the tendering process, the companies or suppliers are saying that the maintenance period is only so many years. And secondly, there may be new technology coming out, and very rapidly too, and they may be able to hack the systems that we have. Now, about the first issue concerning 10 years maintenance. Is this about the e-channel, library, book, etc., and the immigration e-channels? Is it that? And is the guarantee for 10 years for this kind of usage? And what after that? what happens after the 10 years warranty period? Well, will the entire system crash, or what happens to the card? Well, Mr. Chair, we are actually facing that issue now. The warranty period of 10 years, before it comes to term, we will proactively talk to the supplier to extend the warranty. But we are facing a very real issue, and that is the supplier does not have supply of software and hardware. So they are at a loss as well. As mentioned just now, we want it to be a minimum of 10 years warranty, but in the tendering document, we will specify if the supply can provide a longer period. We will take that into account. I understand all that. My question is, well, actually, will the entire system crash? That's my question. Mr. Chairman, if the system can continue to function, that is fine, of course, but otherwise, there will have to be a fee charged. That is to say, the supplier, after the warranty period, will not guarantee the maintenance of the system. So what you're saying is that after the warranty period, you can still use the system, but you have to be paying all the time. It's like car maintenance, isn't it? And you've made the calculations, right? Let's say you're using the system for 20 years and the warranty is about 10 years. So you have 10 years outside of the warranty period, as in the car maintenance. And after the calculations, you know that this is not going to be effective, right? Well, Mr. Chair, as mentioned, if the supplier does not even have the parts for maintenance, and we're basically just saying if we have any problems, so what you're saying is that after the warranty period, even if we pay, they may not be able to maintain the system. Is that right? Correct. All right. The warranty period is not that rigid. Let's say in the tendering document, the warranty period is 15 years. Then after this round, the next replacement will be 15 years from now. Well, I think his answer was if the suppliers claims that the system can extend for over 15 years or 10 years, then more marks will be allocated. Right. If that is the case, more marks will be allocated. My question is actually for the next round of replacement, will that kick in the next 10 years from then or 20 years? Well, of course, if the maintenance is or warranty is for 15 years, then of course 15 years from now. All right. So you're saying 15 years. If the warranty period is 15 years, that will be the replacement time. That leads on to the second question. If you find a supplier which is able to provide 15 years warranty, but in 3 years' time, let's say there is new technology which can hack or render the system technology we have useless in security. Well, if this kind of counterfeiting technology does emerge, then what then? And how do you balance the two? I think for technical issues, Mr. Locke will answer the question, and then I will supplement. Yes, Mr. Chair. For the smart card anti-counterfeit features, they are very good. Well, actually, our existing card is at a very low level of counterfeit. But, of course, technology is coming up. New technology is coming up all the time. And we want the frontline people to be able to distinguish the counterfeits apart from raising the counterfeit instances. We also want to discourage counterfeits and also facilitate our frontline officers in identifying counterfeit IDs. Yes, your time is up, Mr. Michael Tian. You wait for your next round. Lee Cheng-Yan. Mr. Chair, I want to invite everybody to think out of the box. Why do we have to bring our ID cards out of the home? There's none in the UK. Of course, if I have to cross a border, I need to carry my ID card. There's a big question here. The law requests that we carry with us our ID card. I do not know whether this can be changed or amended. From a human rights point of view, I can ask this question. I'm a citizen. Why do I have to carry my ID card going out? Well, there are people who leave the home without the ID card and they contravene the law, and sometimes they may be stopped in the streets by the police, and their ID card had to be looked at. But in fact, if there is any suspicion, the police officer can bring the person back to the police station. And it brings us back to the question of why are we requested to carry the ID card. And also it's been pointed out numerous times just now concerning security. For this 3-in-1 encryption, is it possible that this can be attacked and successfully hacked? Or 10 mm, you mentioned, 10 mm is very easy, is a distance which can be easily contravened. Someone standing right behind you will come into 10 mm distance from you and get the information from the card. Now, I would like to know what kind of information, which is not contained in the ID cards now, will be contained in the new ID card, health information, for instance. And also for the octopus. Hong Kong people are concerned about this. And if every time you leave the office, you have to have 2 wallets, one for the octopus, another for the smart card, well, I think we've talked about that just now, but in the future, if there is a new smart ID card, the people in Hong Kong will have to learn to use how the ID card will have to be separated from the octopus card. There may or may not be a cover, as that was the answer given to Sin Chung Kai just now. And I think there will be major headache to the citizens, especially for those who leave the house in a hurry. I mean, there's a skill to storing the ID card. So, on the one hand, I query the security of the system, and secondly, I query why we have to carry the ID card when we leave the house, especially where there are no IIs now. It's very, with multiple visas. It's actually these days, it's very easy to come into Hong Kong. Mr. Lee, I do not think that this is really related to the funding, approval of the funding issue. This is a large policy issue. The law had been in place for so many years, and we have been all carrying our ID card, and now you are raising this. I think that this is not the issue we're discussing today. Now, as for your second question concerning octopus card placed next to the ID card, and whether and also the fear of theft from the card. Yes, there was another question concerning health records and any other information to be stored in the card that is not in the existing card, please. Mr. Chairman, the immigration information will be the same as with the existing card. Now, there are information that can be voluntarily placed in the card, that is for voluntary information, which the citizen can choose to put into the card as well, such as library card. The department is still looking into its feasibility, but this is purely on a voluntary basis. It is not mandatory. In fact, the information as in the new card as compared with the existing card will be exactly the same. Mr. Locke will supplement. Now, concerning the security of the card, the new smart card, there will be 2 encryption keys, so it will be impossible for anyone to steal the information from a distance, because as I have mentioned just now, there will have to be a reader. The card will have to be put onto the reader face down, and there is a unique system whereby there is an encryption key to open the first door, and then there will be another encryption to be opened before the information in the chip can be read. So it is not possible for a person passing by with any reader to be able to steal the information. And in fact, as I have mentioned just now, I also have a lot of these 1443 cards, and you can see this again. Look at my octopus card. It's right here. I put it here, and my 1443 cards just slightly separated facilitates me in my everyday activities. So you're saying this octopus card would not interfere with your ID card information? No, not at all. Would you wait? All right, if that is the case, let me give you some information. The LegCo ID actually does interfere with the octopus card. So I think we do have to be aware of interference. Let us not, well, first, there are two issues here. First of all, will some other reader be able to steal the information? Two, whether the cards put together would interfere each other. That is correct. The octopus card and the LegCo card, where they're put together face-to-face, would interfere each other. Pair 28 and 30. There are sets of numbers mentioned there. It says that $11 million will have to be used for the purchase of software, etc. And also, in 30, paragraph 30 there, it says that an estimated expenditure of 161.53 million is to be used for acquiring implementation services from external providers and contract staff. And then you go on to say it includes acquisition consultancy services to conduct consultancy studies, etc. I would like to know, my understanding is that when you buy the software, the supplier would give you the full set of service. I do not understand why the design is to be separated from this. And even the security and also security assessment will have to be provided by an independent consultancy. Well, why is it not in our IT office? I think this is very important. Shouldn't it be the government's job to assure that the security of the people of Hong Kong in this regard is maintained? Wouldn't it be the IT expert's job within the government? Mr. Chair, for the technical issue, Ms. Fan, my colleague, will answer the question. So will she answer the first question first? Yes. Ms. Fan. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Concerning the system, the hardware, the development and study, the members is correct in their observation, but in the purchase of the hardware for the server, such as Unix, the supplier at the stage of development will provide these. But for the ID system, there is still a work process, such as handling applications from the citizens of Hong Kong, the immigration officers in their approvals. In fact, all these are work procedures and programs which have to be designed by the relevant people and developed. And then we, my department, will test them. So in the software, there is a system software and also application software, and they are different. And it says software Well, I see from paragraph 28 there, purchasing for system software, application software, and packages. Then I would think from your Mrs. Fan's answer that this should come in a package to satisfy your needs in your work. Shouldn't be so. Mr. Chair, as I've mentioned just now, in the design of this entire system and its development, we plan to have different suppliers to supply different items in different parts of the system. So whether it is application software or system software, we will have certain design and certain testing. All these need hands. Well, if there are all these different parts, how do you assure that the different parts within the system talk? All the more I'm perplexed because for software and systems, it comes in a package. How can they be truncated into different parts? I don't understand. Mr. Chair, when I say purchasing system software, we're referring to two parts. First of all, when we buy the hardware, of course, there will be algorithms contained within. And when it comes to the immigration department, we have to design our own software. The question just now from the member was whether there will be consolidation or coordination problems or whether the different parts do not talk. But in fact, when we make the purchase and when we make the classification, we will already be aware of this to make sure that the system is consistent and all the different parts will be able to talk with each other. Mr. Leung Kaki? Well, the government coming to the FC for funding, they do this all the time. They say that whatever we have in existence is not working and they need urgent funding. That's what they do.
Director of Audit report number 63 is about the airspace management system, or rather the air traffic control system. And then we were told, surprisingly, that we had to use the new system. Otherwise, there won't be spare parts for the old system, and it won't be compatible with the new types of aircraft. But then, as we all know, the new system hasn't yet been commissioned. According to the CAD, it will be end of 2016, so 4 years later than earlier indicated. But we still have the airplanes flying in and out. And then for the government flying services, in the past they came to the FC to get funding. And again, we were told that for the fixed-wing aircraft, if they were not to be delivered in time, then the GFS would be one aircraft short because of the lack of spare parts, and it's already the last model in the world. Again, 2 years delay, and we still see the fixed-wing aircraft in service. So my question is about paragraph 4 of your paper. Without suitable and ongoing maintenance and technical support, there is increasing risk of system failure, which will lead to serious and large-scale disruption of public services. Can you elaborate? For you to describe the matter in this way, I don't think you're going to assist us much in our scrutiny. You talk about serious and large-scale disruption. Please elaborate. What will cause it to happen? Undersecretary, thank you, Chair. Thank you, Mr. Leung. Large-scale system failure. This is because the designed lifespan was 10 years. And we would like to get funding so that we get a new system. and it will be for 15 years. In other words, by the time we get the money and commission it, it will be 15 years. So it has already exceeded the lifespan. So there will be problems with both the hardware and software. Some of the hardware components will no longer be manufactured, so there will be problems. So far, the supplier is willing to extend the maintenance agreement for 3 years, but there comes a day when we run out of the spare parts. And for the software, again, the support may no longer be available. So for both the hardware and the software, we will face the end of the serviceable lifespan, and we need to replace them. So it is a real issue. And then I want to say that it isn't a matter that it crops up out of nowhere. In fact, all along we have got in mind a replacement timetable, and we have been reporting to the security panel regularly. As far back as 2010, we invited a consultant to carry out an independent consultant's report on all our systems. In 2010, in the month of March, we were told that 8 systems have been identified. This is the 3rd one identified. So, Mr. Leung, please understand that it didn't come from nowhere. First of all, there's a problem with the system itself, and also since 2010, we have been working on a number of things, and we've been advised by the consultant to work on them. So we need to face the very real issue, that is the lifespan has reached its end, and we need to replace the system. I hope Mr. Lee will understand. I cited 2 examples, and they are unpleasant experience and unpleasant precedents. So try to get an answer from them so as to put it on record. Next, Ms. Emily Lau. Mr. Chairman, this system was introduced in the year 2003. There was a lot of discussion, in particular personal data. There was worry about abuse and problems. At that time, we were told that with the smart ID cards, a lot of things could have been stored on the cards. Of course, we said no to it. There would be citizens who would like the convenience, but of course, I don't know whether user would like it to be done. Some people would like to keep everything on the card, and we have advised against it. Paragraph 15 of the paper, we are told about the things that could be stored. E-channels, self-service e-passport application kiosks, Macau e-channels, of course. Unfortunately, I don't have it. I don't have access to it. I don't know why the Macau government doesn't welcome me. And then the smart ticks kiosks. I don't quite know how they are operated. Maybe Undersecretary can explain. And what follows are the non-immigration related facilities subject to the cardholder's consent. I want to know more about them. Library service. Yes, I know it has been incorporated. At that time, many people told me that they were worried because if I go to the library, I borrow a book on Tibet, will it be known to others? Of course, you're so young, maybe you don't recall this. At the time, there was this worry, that is, you have it kept on my card. I tried to read up a few books on the independence of Tibet, and then I may be arrested by the police. So for items E to F, what has already been done? And what about the e-health system? For H, that worries me most. And that's the public-private interface electronic patient record sharing pilot project. We are now working on the bill, and that's about the e-health record. I understand that it is going to be very useful. But what about 15H? You have incorporated it, so you don't just get your ID card data being taken. Even your healthcare record will be taken. Well, let me clarify. Your ID card doesn't have your health record. You will only have your personal data on the ID card. To use this such additional facilities, well, the immigration department for the leisure link, e-health, etc., and the public library service, well, we don't have such information. We haven't got patient record, e-health system, leisure link, and public library service. There is only the personal data to verify the person's identity. Say this person is Chen Tai Man. So it is clearly spelled out in the law as to what can be stored on the ID card. Well, for the chip to be used by the immigration department, you have the name, sex, ID card number, photo, fingerprints, the conditions of stay, and also the date of issue, etc. For non-immigration related facilities, they are only allowed to read 5 words: name in Chinese English, date of birth, ID card number, and also date of issue. In other words, we don't store the patient record. The law doesn't allow that. It is clearly spelled out in the provision. It hasn't been changed. So it's only a matter of verification of the identity. I hope you understand this point. So the ID card is used to verify the identity. And we are also liaising with the office of the GCIO. Now we can keep this data so as to allow the ID card to be used. How much can we do? I think we are going to say in public, and we're going to consult the public. So first of all, we haven't got other information on the card. We don't have the patient record. We don't have a trail or log of what books you borrowed from the public libraries. Well, if there is time, please tell us how the various items in 15A to H are being sort of used. E-channels. What happens is that you insert your ID card into the card reader, so we get the fingerprint templates. If you have used e-channels, you understand that we have a scanner for your fingerprint. You need to place your finger on the reader, and then we check the templates, and once that is completed, then you are cleared and you walk through the e-channel. And then for the self-service e-passport application kiosk, what happens is that we provide a self-service to the applicant. What we have to do is to verify the identity. Again, you insert your smart card into a reader, and then the applicant has to put his finger on the scanner. And so we will check the image against the template for the purpose of authentication. Once that is checked and satisfied, then he can continue with the application. For the Macau e-channels enrollment kiosk, this is to facilitate Hong Kong residents. If they want to enroll with the Macau e-channels, then at some of the control points in Hong Kong and within our headquarters, there is a machine so that on this basis of self-service, the residents can send the fingerprint images to the Macau authority. Again, authentication will be needed. So after the templates of the fingerprints have been sent to Macau, then in Macau they can use the e-channels. Of course, for the above mentioned 3 items, it's a matter of subject to the consent of the card holders. As to the last one, that is SmartTix kiosk. In 2003, we first launched the first generation of the Smart ID cards. So we allow residents to come to the kiosk to check what information is stored on the chip. So you can also check the conditions of stay. What about E to H? Yes, Chair, please give him time to elaborate on those 4 items. Does anybody know about them? Mr. Wu? Yes, let me say a few words. For the public library service and the leisure link. So it serves as a public library card for leisure link. For the public library service, does it mean that I show my ID card? You need to enroll first. For the services here, if the citizens choose to use them, first of all, you need to approach the relevant department. So he has to register with the public library with your ID card so that you're dispensed with the library card. All you have to do is to show your ID card is read, and then it is said that, yes, I know your identity, and then you can get a book on the independence of Tibet. Yes, for the boring logs, that won't be shown. For the rest, again, you need to be enrolled. Yes, let me explain about e-health system. A brief word. For the e-health system, this is to support the healthcare vouchers. So for the elderly people who join the healthcare voucher scheme, when they visit a doctor for the first time to use the vouchers, so first of all, the elderly person must register at the clinic, and then the ID card will be put on the reader, and then when information has been verified, then they can make use of the e-health system. You don't need to put your ID card on the reader every time you use the system. As to the last one, the pilot project, again, it is just a platform so that different public-private sector doctors can have access to the patient record. The record is on the platform rather than on the ID card itself. Dr. Low, thank you, Mr. Chairman. For adult citizens in Hong Kong, I don't think they are strangers to any ID card replacement exercise. I've been a Hong Kong citizen for many years, and I have had the experience of ID card replacement a number of times. I think there is a need to do so. We need to replace the ID cards, and I think the rationale is clear and there's no need to argue over it. On the one hand, for the Smart Ticks 2, we have faith in the new technology, and we believe that the functions will be better, in particular the anti-forgery features. I think it should provide better safeguards for the citizens. And then for our personal data, I look forward to the Smart Ticks 2 for providing better safeguards. The paper has made it clear for the current ID cards. I think for the new cards, they will have better functions, and also for the existing ones, they have been in use for a long time, and then the support will gradually be phased out because the system and the cards will have a limited lifespan. And then for the current smart cards, which have been introduced in 2003, I think the government has already extended the support agreement to end 2018. So 15 years would have already been a very long period of time. I don't think it is quite likely that it can be further extended, and it will have questions of reliability. The government has also told us that independent European laboratories have tested the materials, and it is believed that we cannot effectively extend the lifespan of the originally designed 10 years. Of course, it doesn't mean that on the dot we have to replace it, but then to play safe, we need to replace the cards. Now, let me ask the question in this way. Between 2018 and 2022, there will be the replacement of the ID cards. If, Mr. Chairman, if unfortunately, if this funding proposal doesn't get passed, if it is vetoed, how serious will be the consequence? That is, the replacement exercise between 2018 and 2022 cannot go ahead. Our current system is getting obsolete, and then the cards may become malfunctional. So if we come to such an unfortunate scenario, what will happen? For the fallback position, I will invite the assistant director to give an answer. Say, for example, if we do encounter large-scale problem, there will be a lot of things that we want to do and we can't do. Say, when we go to a bank, we can't verify our identity. When we want to make use of the e-channel to go out, we can't. And then for other things, when our ID cards are required for registration, that can't be done. Maybe Mr. Chiu can also talk about the fallback position.
Thank you, Chairman. Well, at present, we have a number of offices in the headquarters which can process ID applications. And we have a capacity of 2,000 applications being processed per day. And we have around 10% capacity left. So in the event of major malfunction of the existing ID cards, then of course, first of all, we will use up the remaining 10% capacity. And then we will ask staff to work overtime. And then we will change the shift patterns of offices from 1 to 2 so as to increase the number of applications processed daily from 2,000 to 4,000. But this still cannot guarantee that we could finish the job, because the stock for replacing existing ID cards would only last till around 2018. So manpower is one issue. Blank cards to be issued is another issue. That is why this funding application is important for us to develop the new system. Second round, 3 minutes, Mr. Wu Chi-wai. Thank you, Chairman. First of all, I want to clarify the point in para 28 about procurement of software. Are you talking about basic software? For example, the Unix system, the software like Office and database, the package software, before you design the whole system? I want to clarify this point first, so as to help me understand how you would use your money. And also in para 30, concerning risk assessment, system analysis, consultancy, studies, etc. Has any of these been conducted at this stage? Of course, for the new system, you need to conduct these studies and analyses. But can you tell me, for the existing system, is there any risk impact assessment and other study on privacy and personal data, etc., so that you can plug the loopholes if they're identified in a new system? Now, for the procurement of software, we need a software specifically designed by the supplier. So the systems platform is just a basic or the fundamental software. We need system software and application software to help us produce manufacturer ID cards. Para 30. On consultancy studies, in fact, in the second generation ID card, we already conducted a privacy impact assessment, PIA, which had already been submitted to the Privacy Commissioner for comments on the new system. And apart from the PIA, we are also going to conduct an ITSRAA to see if the privacy protection requirements can be met by the system, and whether there are other risks in the system that we should pay attention to. Chairman, can I ask the government to say this, because this affects the design of the whole system. Can you tell us when you will take this on, so that we understand that this element will be included in your system? You talk about different stages. Do you understand his question or not? Yes, Chairman. For the PIA, privacy impact assessment, the first stage has been conducted in our feasibility study. And when it comes to the second stage, we will conduct another round of privacy impact assessment. At the same time, we will also conduct an information technology security risk assessment and security audit. And before the system rollout date, we will, and after, we'll also conduct similar assessments. Second round assembly allow 3 minutes. Chairman, I'm still on paragraph 15. Point H, public-private interface electronic patient record sharing pilot project. First of all, I'd like to know whether you have included this now or not. Well, from a positive perspective, it would be very convenient, because if there's an urgent need to retrieve the patient's data, well, why don't you explain to me how it is done? Can you explain? Do you understand the question? Well, for members of the public in this pilot project, if they use this platform, which is connected to doctors participating in this project, then when the ID card is placed on the card reader, the patient's identification can be verified. Following that, the patient's record can be retrieved. So let's say if I am a private doctor and if I take part in this project, I will upload all the patient's record, and then in a public hospital, all patients' records relating to me, Tommy Zhang, will be uploaded on the same platform, so that when necessary, on seeing my name, you can access this platform and retrieve any data related to me, Tommy Zhang. Really? We're still scrutinizing the bill. How can this be implemented so soon? I thought that this is being done in private hospitals and clinics only. Well, this is a pilot project, so participation is on a voluntary basis. So it's voluntary, you're not compelled to join. So I'm talking about public-private interface, that pilot project. Can you tell me more clearly how data can be shared on this platform between private and public clinics? There is a database on this platform, and doctors who participate in this project, well, does it mean that if a private doctor participates in the project and that the data can only be uploaded with the patient's consent? Is that right? But this is a pilot project. How many participants do you have in this pilot project? Mr. Chiu? The hospital authority has released some information on the internet, and on its web page it says that as of December 2013, more than 339,000 patients and 3,000 practitioners in the private healthcare sector have taken part in the pilot project. And the private clinics or healthcare organizations under this project already access the patient's records for more than 836,000 times in the project. I think you can check the details on the website. Mr. Wu Chiwai, the third round. A brief one. For this generation of smart ID cards, if possible, please tell us year by year how many ID cards are replaced because of malfunctioned chips or broken chips. For broken or malfunctioned chips, well, as of now, there are 66,200 replaced. So that's the figure in March this year. This is about smart ID cards that we're using now. Right. 66,000 plus cards have been replaced. So can I ask a supplementary question? Have you looked into why the chips are broken or have become malfunction, not functional? Is it because of the card holders breaking the chip or what? We'd like to analyze the reasons why the chips broke, but then we would need to pass the ID card data to the manufacturer for analysis, and that is why we did not choose to do that. Any other follow-up questions? But we need to know why they could no longer function. But I think they're just trying to choose between the lesser evil. Any other questions? If there are no other questions, I will put this item to a vote. With those in favor of FCR bracket 2015-16-7, please raise your hands. Those against, please raise your hands. I think the majority of members who voted are in favor of this item, so the item is carried. I remind members once again that the next meeting of the Finance Committee is scheduled for 3 p.m. on the 29th of May 2015. Thank you.